Welcome back. For this project, we're going to do a painting of an animal. You can do a painting of one of your pets, just like our cute little kitty over there, or you can get a painting from a calendar. We get lots of calendars this time of year. Most important is what we want to do is we want to get a photo, and we want to print the photo out so that it's exactly 8 by 10 inches. And you can see that this is a picture of a seagull. This was a seagull we met in Brookings, Oregon that we took some pictures of, landed in our car, and so on. It's got a great personality. So I've got an 8 by 10 picture of the seagull. And what we're going to do is we're going to use the grid technique, which I'll show you in a minute, to transfer the drawing of the 8 by 10 photograph onto our 16 by 20 inch canvas. That's what we'll paint it on. So the 16 by 20 inch canvas is exactly twice the size of the 8 by 10 inch photograph. So I'm going to show you how we do a grid, first on the picture, then we'll do a grid on the canvas, and I'll show you how we do the drawing, transfer the drawing twice its size onto the canvas itself. So I've laid my ruler out along the longer edge of the picture. You can see it's exactly 10 inches. And with a pen, I'm going to mark each inch. Obviously, you don't want to do this of a photograph that you want to keep or that you love. Just make a copy of your photograph. It's 8 by 10. Because we're going to draw lines on top of it. And now I'm going to connect the lines and start my grid, edge to edge. Continue this all the way down. Now you can see that I've drawn the grid lines horizontally, and now I'm going to take my ruler and put it along the shorter side here, and you can see that it's exactly 8 inches. And once again, I'll make little marks at each inch mark. And I'll do that again just down here, anywhere along the thing, so that we have two marks to line up, so our lines will be nice and straight. Okay, then I'm going to turn it sideways and I'll draw my lines this way. Now, some of you might be really good at drawing and see proportionally. If you don't want to do this process, you can simply draw the picture of the animal right onto your canvas. I'm not a really super excellent draftsman, and I need lots of help, so this is just a more effective and simple way to get your drawing right. When you're doing a painting, it's very important that you get your drawing right. If you don't get your drawing right, no amount of painting is going to make it look good. If you get your drawing right, then even if you're not that great a painter, it still comes out looking pretty good. Alright, so I'm taking my canvas, I've got my pencil, and you can see that the width of the canvas is 16 inches. It's not perfectly 16 inches, but that's close enough. So I'm going to make 2-inch boxes. So at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. And then I'm going to go up a little bit higher. And Do the same thing. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And then just like I did on the picture, I'm going to draw my lines by connecting these two little knots. Okay, so I've drawn my lines the long way. Now I'll turn my canvas like this, and I will put the ruler along here, and you can see that's 20 inches. And once again, 2, 6, 8, 10, 18. Down a little ways. Do the same thing. And again, we draw our lines this way. This is a little bit like finding your way on a map. So you can see on the photograph what I've done is I've numbered the boxes across 1 through 8, and then I've numbered the boxes down 1 through 10. And I've done the same thing on the canvas. Numbered the boxes across the top 1 through 8, and down 1 through 10. So because we have exactly the same number of boxes, all we need to do is transfer the drawing from these boxes to these boxes. So for example, if we go over here, you can see that the top of the seagull's head is between boxes 5 and 6 and starts just below in box 2. So I go over to box 5 and 6, just right over here to the second row of boxes, and I can start drawing my seagull and make everything. This goes across to this corner of this box right here, and down. And it goes in a little bit here, across the bottom, down to this box, across like this, down to about here. Okay, so that's that side. And I can go over, if you look on the seagull, how this is followed all of the different boxes. And each of these sections are reproduced in the boxes on the canvas. If I continue over here, I go to his beak, goes across halfway to this box, like this, up like so, to about here, and then down, goes down to the corner of this box, across to just above this box, down to here, across to here, to right here. Alright, and then both of these are the end of his body down here. Then I can continue like this. And now I'm ready to go into his legs. And one leg comes down like this, little here, to about there. The other side of his leg comes like this, fattens up a little bit, like so, to here. And we'll go over to the other leg. out his feet. One foot. His foot is actually underneath his other foot. And then we've got the rock comes down like this, or actually the piling that he's standing on. So that gives us our basic outline of our seagull. Now we can go into some more detail. We can separate the body from this part of where the wing is. And we can locate the eye. If we look over here on the photograph, you can see that the eye is in box 6-2, right down towards the bottom. So here's 6-2. So the eye sits right over here. And the corner of the bill comes around like this. Like so. And we've got a pretty good drawing, pretty accurate drawing of our seagull. I'm going to add another little thing over here. You see this little line of surf here? That's the only really distinguishing character of the background. So that's between box 8 and 9, right on that line there, and it goes all the way, pretty much all the way across. So here's 8 and 9 right here. So this is going to be where the surf is. I can just indicate that to help me with my painting. That's how we transfer and enlarge the drawing, the photograph of the animal onto our canvas. On my canvas, I've took an eraser and I've erased as much of the grid lines as I could on the canvas. It's easier to erase them than it is to cover them. If you're using, light colors like the light blues and stuff, they usually cover the grid lines really well. But if you're doing a painting of an animal that has other colors, yellows or reds and so on, that are more transparent, then it's a little difficult when the lines show through. So it's a little bit more efficient and better to erase them as much as possible. So if we look at the picture, once again, like we did with the tangerine painting, we want to determine the colors that we're going to be using for the painting. Obviously we have a lot of blue, a lot of cerulean blue. So I'll take the cerulean blue paint, mix it with a little bit of white to paint the whole background first. Then with the seagull, we have mostly white, a little bit of cerulean blue, and some black to gray to create that soft gray area. Same thing with the wings. We'll need a little bit of yellow for his bill, a little black for his eye, some black and gray, and then we'll use a little bit of alizarin crimson tint with white for his feet. Take a whole bunch of white. Drop a little bit of blue on there. You can see that I'm very, very precise in my mixing techniques. Put in a little bit more blue, just a little bit. There we go. All right, I'm going to take a wide bristle brush. And I'm going to start painting the background. Alright, and this is a little bit tedious, so I'm going to paint the whole thing that color blue, and we'll come back after I get the background all painted. I've painted the entire background a light cerulean blue. So to create some variation in the background, I'm going to mix some cobalt blue, which is a slightly darker, slightly grayer blue, to give some variation into the background. And this can just be painted on and blended with some of the rest of the blue. And if we look at our photograph down here, our painting, you can see that in the surf here we have a little bit more darker blue and cerulean blue, cobalt blue. I mean, we can put some of this in here. So now I'm going to take a little bit of white paint. Just give it a little bit of a touch of water down here. All right, so that gives me some variation in the background a little bit, and now we can take a little bit more white paint. I'm going to take a little bit of cobalt blue, just a little bit.
Continue.
To get more towards the top of the seagull, it gets a little bit lighter. So up here, pretty much white. Tiny little touch of black down here. Get some gray in there. Painting a little more cobalt blue right underneath the chin to create a little bit of a shadow there. You can see, because our seagull has got feathers and he's kind of soft and fluffy and stuff, I'm not worrying too much about smoothing out all the brush strokes. Brush off and go with some straight white up on the very top. And we're going to do some white over here on the fluffy side. Alright, so I mixed up a little bit more cobalt blue, which is a little darker blue than the cerulean, a little bit of white and a little bit of black. And I'm just going to come over here and paint this wing. Like so. And now I'm going to come down and continue with the same color down here for the feet. Actually, the legs, the feet will be crimson. Okay, now I'm just going to take some, pretty much just some basic black down here, and we're going to paint the piling that our seagull is standing on. And if you look at the photograph, you can see that we have a slightly grayer area under the seagull's left foot. So I'll just take a little bit of white, just lighten that up a little bit here. And what this does is it helps to give the piling a little bit of a dimension because the light hits the top of the piling, so we have a little bit of gray on the top there. So I've taken a little bit of alizarin crimson paint here and mixed it with some white. And we'll come over here and paint the base color for our guy's feet. Then I'm going to take a little bit of black and mix it with this to create some variation in the feet there. A little bit of a shadow right through here. The detail in the painting's not all that, in the photo's not all that clear, so you don't have to worry too much about it. One of the interesting things about painting is you don't have to have all the details that the human brain will fill out what you think is missing. All right, that's pretty good on the legs here. So we're moving on pretty well here. We got a nice fluffy seagull and his feet are planted firmly on the pilings and have a nice background. So we're going to get into a little more detail now, and we're going to note on the painting we have a yellow beak, pretty much Naples yellow up on the top. So I've taken a little bit of Naples yellow over here. Smaller brush. And we'll go paint his beak here. Seagulls have a very nice beak. They're very vocal. They're very vocal people. They like to make a lot of noise when they're flying around. And although he's more of an introspective kind of seagull, I think he's sitting on this piling and kind of looking out at the horizon and wondering why the world is the way it is, or at least who's going to throw him another fish. Yeah, this particular seagull, as I mentioned earlier, we met in Brookings, and he landed on the hood of our car and kind of looked at us and spent a lot of time with us and stuff, so he's kind of a personal friend. I'm going to put a little shadow down here on the bottom of his beak. Brookings, Oregon. It's the southern coast of Oregon. It's a lovely place. It's got a really nice climate, a lot of beautiful places to hike, and of course lots of seagulls as well. And we get a little bit more darkness right here where the beak enters the head. I don't like that one. Put some yellow back. That's better. All right, now I'm going to take a little bit of black. We're going to give him his eye. like so. And I'm going to take a little bit of white. A little bit more black. And I'm just going to do a little bit more shading over here. Just like that. There you go. So let's take a look. One thing you need to remember is that paintings are really not meant to be looked at really closely. They're actually meant to be viewed from a distance. You can see they're on a wall in a museum or they're on a wall in your house. And from a distance, everything kind of comes together better. When you look at something too closely, you see all the individual brush strokes. If you've ever been in a museum and you looked at a Rembrandt painting, if you look really close, it doesn't make any sense. All you see is a bunch of colors and brush strokes and so on. And then when you get further away, you see the incredible, beautiful painting of the portrait or whatever else he's painted on. So I'm just going to, go over the painting. I'm going to do a little bit of detail work and kind of fix up. We don't like these little white spaces between the legs and the background and around here. I'm just going to touch those up, and then we'll come back and just take a final look at the painting. So here's the final finished product of our seagull here. I've touched up the background a little bit, the legs and the feet. And remember, take a look at the painting from a distance. You don't have to look at it really closely. He's got a nice personality, nice colors. I think we've done a pretty good job. Now you go ahead and do your painting and have fun, explore, experiment, see what you can come up with. I hope you've had a good time, and I hope you have a really good time painting your own animal. And share it on the discussion board, and we'll talk about it. Thanks so much.